I just realized I totally forgot to set something up here. Hey, is this thing on? Oh, crap, it is. All right. Hey, everybody. My name is Derek, and I am the owner, creator, and head silicone slinger here at Amavidi, where we make silicone toys for adults. So tonight, I've been looking forward to this one for a while now. As you know, we had Shop Dad on a couple of times, and he has pulled some strings and managed to help me get in touch with Kristen from PleasureForge. So that's going to be a really interesting conversation tonight. I've already had a couple of conversations during tech rehearsal and stuff, and I can tell this is going to be a conversation that's probably going to happen in multiple parts. There's just so much that I want to get to. And hopefully we can keep it to the usual 90 minutes like we usually do, but we'll see. You might have noticed at the beginning we have a Patreon. It's at patreon.com/Amavidi. And if you want to, you can support us that way. I apologize. I usually have an intro screen here where you can actually see me, but I messed up and didn't build one. So with that, I think I'm going to bring Kristen on, and we'll roll from there. Kristen, how you doing?
Ooh, breathing. Taking a big breath. Ooh.
Exchanging oxygen, carbon dioxide, in and out. It's a thing.
Yeah.
Well, you are the Goblin King over at PleasureForge. How did you get that title?
So that's actually a Shop Dad little joke. He was helping us set up the very formal payment processor software, and thought that it would be fun if we gave everyone goofy titles. So your payment processor has Goblin King as your title for the company? Yep. Yes,
oh
that's me. That's me. So.
All right. Well, since I know who you are, but not everybody else does, why don't you take a moment and kind of introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about what you do?
Ooh. Okay. Gosh, sorry. I'm just gonna get it out there so that I don't think about it. I'm terrible with public speaking. Now that I know there's other people watching and it's not just you and I'm kind of like, Wah!
I was gonna say you were just so smooth a few minutes ago.
I was smooth, and now I'm like, don't watch me. But anyway, yeah. So I'm Kristen. I make weird stuff, cool stuff, all kinds of stuff. Over here at PleasureForge in Jacksonville, Florida. We've been open now for about 5 years. Yeah. I don't have a lot more to say on that. I'm so sorry. I'm just like...
No, yeah, it's okay. So you make stuff, and I assume it's made out of silicone?
Yes. All of it is platinum pure silicone.
All right. And now, how... sometimes people ask, how did you get into this business? And I don't really like that question because it gets kind of like, reciting steps here and there. To me, it's more about, why did you get into this business? What was it that drew you in and you decided, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
Yeah. So without you when you said that, I was like, David, you mean like David Copperfield? So we're not going to do it chronologically. Okay. So let's see, about 5 years ago, I'm sorry if this is going to be long-winded, but that's the only way I know how to tell stories. About 5 years ago, I was getting out of a relationship that was really not good. And I was living with that person, we were living together, and they decided that they didn't want me to live there anymore. I went out one night and I met this really, really interesting guy at our local gay watering hole. And I don't know, I think it was that night people were like, oh yeah, you got to meet him. He makes dildos. He's super weird and cool. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And yeah, we just had a really good conversation. And then he invited me over to come and check out his workspace, which was pretty, I guess I feel like that's the dark ages of the workshop now.
So
but
he invited
it was,
you back to his place to show you his etchings.
Yeah. No, he's very respectful. I was probably like less respectful, but anyway. Yeah, so yeah, and he was just getting started. I mean, he had his Tumblr that he'd been posting to for a while, where he just was posting things that he was making. And of course, the he we're speaking about is Shop Dad. But yeah, so we ended up getting together in life and in business. I started one day he asked me to come out there. He knew I have a background in tattooing. I tattooed for 10 years before I started doing this, and he knew I had a background in that, so he asked me, he's like, come out, I need help, doing, you're really good with colors, so come out here and help me figure out this custom order. And I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I don't know, it was like once I did that and it came out super cool, and then I was like, okay, I'm in here. And I was in a weird, I did. And it's like, it's funny, once you're a mentor or a person who shows you how to do this, or I don't even know. Some people don't have that, they just do it, they start it on their own. But I don't know, like he hadn't been doing it super long, so kind of we were starting, I don't know, together at the same time almost. He knew a lot more about, making masters and making molds than I did, but I feel like the casting stuff, we kind of like learned side by side. So that's how I ended up here, but yeah.
One of the questions that often gets asked, does your family know what you do?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
My family is super cool. They have always known everything I've always done. Everything. They are very supportive. My grandma, even, she loves hanging out. She loves hanging out in the workshop. She's like, put me to work, give me something to do. So she's even, she's trimmed, so anybody out there, she may have trimmed a forgeling that you own, or one of our little snacks that we give away for free. She may have trimmed it. She loves doing stuff out there. So yeah,
right.
I feel very fortunate in that, because I know not a lot of people have, support from their families.
Yeah.
But
So you turned your grandma into a goblin, into a shop goblin.
I did. And now every time I see her, she's like, do you have something else for me to do? And I'm just like, I'll look for something. I think she even made we had the silicone test kits where we were offering, yeah, she'd love it. But she assembled a lot of those for us. She just loves doing stuff like that. Mm-hmm. She's 85, but she's just she's a sharp lady. She just wants to keep doing stuff forever. So
right. So it started off with Shop Dad, and then you came along, and as I kind of put it together, the roles kind of shifted, and you have kind of taken over PleasureForge. He has kind of done his own thing. And so PleasureForge has kind of become, I don't want to say your baby, but, it's, you're the biggest part of it at this point.
I mean, he likes to say that often, but I also think that, he plays a huge part. So I have to say I feel like it's very equal, but yeah, I did take over a lot more of the day-to-day stuff, Star and I do 99.9% of the casting now. If he does get out there, he makes a tornado mess and something cool, but I started taking over everything from back then. We were on Etsy, so I started doing everything on Etsy, taking over the social media, just everything else, shipping.
Yeah. Right.
All the other stuff that we do.
Yeah, you mentioned Star, and I think Star is a shop goblin.
Yes, Star is my main goblin. She's my right hand goblin. She's my right arm, my other arm of the business, PleasureForge.
So
he is amazing.
Yeah. Now, I am a little bit of a control freak. I have to.
Yeah, me too.
And so when I bring in folks who are going to be minions and work in my studio, because I have minions and you've got goblins, it is so hard to let go and let somebody else take the reins. How have you dealt with that?
I mean, it absolutely has been very hard. I have my own processes. I have my ways that I'm like, this is the most efficient way. Don't do it any other way. But it's been it was a struggle for me at first. Absolutely. I definitely didn't want anybody to veer off any path. And if I saw him doing it, I was like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it like that? But I think it's been good for me. You know, like I've really enjoyed watching her. I've really enjoyed watching her figure things out on her own. That's been extremely rewarding for me. Like, you know, I taught her, it was wild. I taught her how I like to do my drips one time, and now she could just, I mean, you would never tell the difference between whether I did it or she did it. And then sometimes she'll like run off with things that I've taught her. So that's been really nice. I like seeing that.
Yeah. One of the great things about having studio minions or shop goblins, it kind of starts to alleviate a little bit of the stress. You can kind of take a step back and a little bit of a breath. But one of the things that I think a lot of us deal with is burnout, and you know, that creative burnout that just seems to drain us over time. Have you found that that has been something that Star has helped out with, or how have you dealt with that?
I mean, I think absolutely Star has helped me out as far as like how long I can sustain you know, the levels that we were at. But I do feel like we pushed, like I pushed, she pushed, we all pushed so hard during the, you know, the start of lockdown. It was just like pushing extremely hard. So I think, you know, we needed someone to alleviate our burnout, because we were just happy to work until our feet were falling off. Yeah. So we needed someone else to come in and be like, hold on guys, we're not going to do this, because it is this, you know, this work can burn you out, and you have to really be careful that you don't you know, bleed that onto your people, because you might be happy to work until midnight, but they're not.
Yeah.
And, you know, oftentimes people might not tell you that, and you're just like, come on, guys, we can do it. But we don't work till midnight, for the record. I think we did that like one time, and it was probably a Black Friday shipping day, and everybody knew, and we had lunch. And
yeah. Yeah. I know that for me is that I love what I do. And so for me, it doesn't feel like work. I can do it all day long, and I don't expect that of my employees. I don't expect that of the folks that work with me, because they're not as invested, and this didn't come from the part of them that they wanted to share with the world. So there's definitely something there where we have to accept that what we do is not what we are going to have to expect from our folks in the studios.
Yeah, absolutely. That's an interesting thing to learn, because again, like, you know, getting into this business, like I have no formal training in how to be a business person. And I suspect a lot of people in this business don't have that type of formal training whatsoever. You know, I hear of people, you know, all the time being like, I don't know how to like fill out these papers even, you know, I'm having, so it's there's a lot of things that can get caught in the crosshairs, like, you know, I'm sorry, I just lost my thought. You know, classifying your employees, even, are the independent contractors? A lot of people misclassify them. Yeah. That's, you know, I feel like that kind of hurts the legitimacy of our industry. If you have like bad folks being like, you know, just do your due diligence, know that you don't know what you don't know, and try to seek it out, I guess.
there's a reason why people are professionals in particular
Exactly.
areas. And they are, I mean, I've always said that my CPA is worth his weight in gold.
I agree so much. I pay, I think it's a large amount to have a CPA that I don't have to think about any of that. I do like to know what's going on, but I don't have to think about any of it because it's like, I'm not a CPA. I don't need to know,
right?
You know, exactly how that works. Like they do. So good.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it is just being able to let go and let them do what it is that they do so well. And it's money well spent, but not everybody can afford it. But
no, that's true. That's true.
It's one of the things that one of the first people you should be hiring on as you can.
Well, there's a lot of resources you can find,
Mm-hmm.
You know, as a small business that I think I would like encourage people to take advantage of trying to seek those out. You know, I think we have, gosh, I can't remember. My accountant's hooked us up with this. It's just like a small business bureau, something in our town. But a lot of people have that. You know, you can always check in on things like that if you have questions or anything.
Yeah, there's another resource. It's called Score, and if you just search for Score Small Business, and that's SCORE, it's I can't remember exactly what it stands for. It's something about Core of Retired Entrepreneurs or something like that.
Oh, cool.
And they are folks who have retired or are late in their business cycle, and they just volunteer their time to be a resource for small business owners and people who are just getting started.
I love that.
You touched on this just a little bit. I want to come back to it. And it's that dichotomy between art and business. And, you know, how do we define ourselves? Are we artists? Are we small business owners? Are we content creators? What do you think about that idea?
That so I feel like at least in the last 2 years, it's become more of a thought in the forefront of my mind because, you know, well, business, you know, we had the great COVID dildo boom is like what I like to call it. We could have never expected that level of appreciation and orders and all the things. But yeah, so it's difficult now. It's like, you know, are we a content creator? I think I told you during our tech setup, I was like, you know, I'm having trouble with these reels. I cannot understand how they work. And then it's kind of a bummer because it's like you shoot a whole short film in a reel and then you may have like no views on it. And it's like, well, what did I do that for? But that's because that's what the social media overlords want you to do now, so you can be relevant in their algorithms. And it can be very discouraging at times. It's like, you know, because the artist inside of you is like, I just want to share my art.
Right.
You know, I just want to share my art. And then the business person inside of you is like, well, you have to make money.
What's the business justification for spending this time doing this thing?
Exactly. And so, yeah. But the content creator piece is kind of difficult because then you're kind of expected to have, I know a big word lately is a parasocial relationships with your customers, and that can be hard sometimes because you know, is it a customer base? Is it a community? It's both.
Yeah.
All of it. So it can be hard. I struggled when I was doing social media initially because I was like, I'm not sure what kind of voice I should have here. You know, do I have my own personal voice or do I have to like put on some kind of marketing voice, which does not come natural to me. So like, I don't think I would ever, you know, I see some mainstream sex toy marketing that is not something I would do, but like if it works for them, good for them.
Yeah.
I like to see the shift. in the fantasy community.
Yeah. I think it's interesting about the community that we have become a part of and how that has kind of evolved over time. And it does kind of expect us to be, at least it seems to me, that they expect us to be more personal, that they expect us to, they want to be our friends. They want to be a part of our world. And I'll be honest, that's part of why I did this, is so that I could connect with that world a little bit better, but also give other folks a way of connecting with that world. You've been in this just a little bit longer than me, I think. I think we started around the same time. I think I came in just a little bit after you. How have you seen that community change over time?
Well, for one thing, it's gotten much bigger, which is great. It's really great because, part of it, the good side to the community, or the great side rather, is that you do have this wonderful, fiercely loyal base of friends and customers and people who will build you up, and they will they will always,
they'll defend you to the dying
yes,
day.
They will. If they see something that is kind of silly, they'll be like, hold on a minute, that's not. And I love that. I appreciate that so much. I don't think people understand. I could never express it, but it has changed a lot. I've been part of a community Discord. Well, it's changed over time, but it does contain a lot of the same people. But a community Discord of collectors for I think since 2018, quite a while.
Yeah.
And yeah, from the Tumblr to Twitter, it's gotten really interesting. What's funny about Tumblr is that there used to be, you could anonymously be a jerk. So you'd have people kind of being like, why did you post that? And it's like, oh, my bad. Because it's funny, I don't ever start my day thinking I'm going to post something today to make someone upset. I would never. Right. I would never. Unless, okay, that's a lie. I might, but not my people.
Today I choose violence.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's gotten interesting. Another good thing about our community is that the customers have a ton of institutional knowledge about their products, the products that they enjoy, or collect, or the pieces, the art. So it's nice because they will, they'll train the new people in how all this works. And a lot of times I see people answering questions before I can even answer it. And that I always appreciate so much. I'm like, thank you so much. And because, sometimes you can't get to every single question, but it has changed over the years. It's gotten a lot bigger. And I would say, I don't want to take it into any negative place, but I would say that it's been difficult at times because you have new, brand new shops get out onto the scene, and they don't know what's going on yet,
Right.
And you do sometimes see kind of call outs where I'd like to see call ins. You have some customers out there who might know even more than the little baby shop does, and it's give them a break, man. Just give them a break. Don't assume
Right.
their intent is bad, because it's not always.
Right. Yeah. The community has a really good history of kind of, I say good because it kind of goes both ways. When they see these new shops, and some of them will say, hey, get in touch with Derek, or get in touch with Kristen, or ShopDad is a great resource for this, or whatever. But I think that sometimes the community can turn on people fairly quickly. And we're all human, so that can happen. But I've been really happy with the way that the community has responded to me and the folks that I have been working with.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's really, really excellent, for the most part, you know. And then, like, going back to it, you know, we had that recent kind of community-wide shocking event. I'm not gonna like refer to it directly, but I think you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure a lot of the folks at home know what I'm talking about. And I thought it was really nice to see how everybody kind of came together and were like, hold on, no, like we can't have this in here. We got to get it out. And that's the stuff that I love to see it. I'm like, I love to see it.
Yeah,
So cool.
you know, we kind of made a distinction there. We kind of glossed over it. Was the difference between calling somebody out and calling somebody in. Do you want to talk about how you see that difference?
So, you know, personally, I think calling someone out. So calling someone out might, I think it looks like you've already assumed their intent. And so you're feeling reactive and you've already assumed intent. And so you're going to pop off, if you will, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
And then, you know, calling someone in, it's like, hold on, you've taken a second to step back and kind of just like center your feelings, center yourself and be like, hold on a second. Okay. What actually happened here? Like, you're taking time to ask questions. And you know, sometimes I've seen stuff that I don't necessarily have a problem with public, I don't know what the word I want to use is. I don't want to say public call outs because that doesn't encompass what I mean, but I don't have a problem with people speaking on things publicly. I guess I just would ask that you consider taking it private unless it's like truly egregious.
Yeah.
Because that, you know, I've had situations, my friends have had situations where something, you know, I think Tibbs said it in the chat. It was like some information will spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
And it's not good information. And then, you know, you've got 27 people. Yeah, like 27 people talking about it on Twitter about how like you kicked their dog and it's like, man, oh, that's not what happened. And then, you know, that sucks because we spend a lot of time, I feel like we do as makers and also as members of the community, like thinking about the good we can do for the community as a whole. You know, and it sucks to see someone, you know, insinuate that you didn't. That actually, it hurts your feelings. Like, it hurts your feelings really bad. I'm like, I'm a type of person where I'll think about it like all day. And Matt's like, come on, we gotta get back.
Well, I don't think any of us come into the business or anything like that with the intent of doing harm or to hurt anybody's feelings. Well, you think?
I've seen some things.
I've
don't think they have the intent,
so many wonderful
though.
people that
I've seen some things though. It's like where someone tried to politely explain to someone like, hey, the thing you're doing is like maybe not super safe, and you know, people getting very indignant or feeling, but I understand that as well. Like, I can understand that on a human level because nobody likes to feel backed into a corner or scolded or anything like that. So
yeah. Now, I have pretty much focused on Twitter. And I think we're kind of focusing on Twitter in our conversation here. Are there any other social media platforms that you use? I mean, Tumblr? I mean, Tumblr's not... Tumblr's not dead yet, is it?
For RIP Tumblr, no, really. For us, it's dead. I mean, I'm not going to spend all day, you know... what is the word? Gosh, I can't think of words today. And it's
obsessing?
The only day that I really need to think about words. No, not obsessing. It's like I can't spend all day appealing reports or like flags on my posts. And that's, you know, years ago when Tumblr started doing that, it was like half of our posts had those sorts of, you know, they're like, we're taking this down. And it's like, but it's literally nothing, I don't know, like, you know, nothing bad is going on here. It's just
I had that on Twitter happen to me 2-3 days ago. And
you know, a lot of people have been having that happen to their posts, even people who are just posting normal stuff. So I think that's something kind of funky with like Twitter itself.
Yeah.
But
Facebook,
yeah, F in the chat for Tumblr. That's so great. Yes, I do not use Facebook. I would never. If anyone does, and I want to preface that to say, you can run your business how you want to run your business. That is your prerogative all day long. Do you, boo? But for me, I would never ever use Facebook because I think they're ridiculous. And I don't think I want to deal with the kind of commentary that Facebook gets. I don't think my little heart could handle it, because you have the commentary on Facebook for just a post on the news is just absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't do that. I do use Instagram. Instagram, I wish it was more of a front thought, but it's definitely more of an afterthought. It's a lot harder to gain traction on there. I feel like you do have to be more of the content creator, if you will, on Instagram. They respond, a lot of Instagrammers, or the community on Instagram seems to respond a lot better to really pretty posts. So you really have to
it's very refined. It's very polished.
Yeah. It's like an art gallery.
Yeah. And Twitter is a little bit more rough and tumble, and
it is.
We
it's
throw
accessible.
stuff out there. Yeah.
It is.
But the lifespan on Twitter is 30 seconds.
It is. It moves very fast.
Yeah.
It moves very fast. Yeah. Oh, I like that person's question.
Which is a good segue to, I want to remind everybody, if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. George will collate those and we will get back around to them. Or if they pop up in my feed, then I'll try to work them in as we go. Oh, and another disclaimer, any products or anything that we mention is purely from our experience. Nothing here is promoted or subsidized, or what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. We're not
Sponsored?
out here sponsored. That's it.
I'm sponsored by Monster Smash Toys. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not.
Ooh, that's an interesting idea. Huh. Okay. Now, let's see. So, let's see. We've covered social media. We've covered your evolution getting into the business. I'm curious how your shop has evolved. And I'm talking about the physical workspace. We often start in these very small, cramped, maybe it's your kitchen, or maybe it's a spare bedroom or something like that. You're doing enough business to where you can't be doing that out of a spare bedroom, can you?
We're doing the photography out of a spare bedroom.
Right.
No, yeah. So we actually started in it's a very nice shed. It was a very nice shed. We had a window unit AC in it. It was a bigger shed,
Yeah.
We started out there, and that was back when we weren't doing like a ton. But yeah, we started in the shed, and then we have a two-car garage, and we moved into a corner of the two-car garage. We never put cars in it though. I think I put a car in there one time. That's because we had a hurricane situation.
Yeah.
And that we didn't know we were gonna get it or not. So we're like, oh, we'll put a car in the garage. But yeah, so we started on the corner garage, and now it's functionally the entire two-car garage. And it's also, Shop Dad has his printer sheds.
He's talked about that.
Yeah, he keeps his FDM and FDMs. I guess there's two now. Inside the house in the one room, so he's got his little Goblin room in the house.
Yeah.
To do his little Goblin experiments. And then we have the other room, which is all photography and bagging.
Yeah.
And we'd love to get out of here, but it's just, yeah. The last 2 years, I know I keep saying it, but I'm the last 2 years have been just mad.
I know. I was wanting to come back around to how COVID has kind of impacted the community and you specifically. So why don't you take a moment and talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. 5 years of iteration, that person said. Yes, 5 years. And let me tell you what, I just to go back for 1 second. But it'll all tie in. We'll circle back. Is that what they say in like corporate meetings? Like,
I think so.
I don't know. I've never been in one. Shop dad, is that what they say in corporate meetings? Oh, he's on the lag.
Yeah.
They say like we'll circle back. Do they say that a lot in corporate meetings? Okay.
What did he
say? He said what's on trend right now is let's take it offline.
Oh.
I don't know. But anyway,
right.
yeah, so 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago now. So let's set the scene. March 2020, I just came back from the amazing festival. No, really, I did though. It was really fun. And then we started having all these crazy news reports of some crazy virus. And, you know, I was at the start of 2020, like we had big plans. I remember we took a car ride and we talked and we had like we were working out like our rest of the year plan, you know, maybe thinking about a 5-year plan. And for that year, we had planned to save all of our money that we made that year so that we could find a commercial space to get the heck out of this house. You know, and at that point, we were probably doing drops of, I don't know, maybe like 50 things a week or something. It wasn't too big. You know, I had, it's funny, actually, Star started in February of 2020. So she started like right before.
Oh, wow.
The shit hit the fan. But she so she got trial by fired in. Yeah, it was weird. It was like 2 weeks, maybe 2 weeks after the lockdown. I think I don't remember. I think it was like a drop of Black Rainbow or something. Some drop I did where it was just like, and everything sold out. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like I was freaking out. I think we were sitting at the computer and we were just like, wow, can you believe it? And then like that just kind of kept happening. And like, we couldn't keep enough stuff in the store. You know, we would have, like, I remember having like a drop of like 200 things and it was just like gone. And we were still on Etsy at that point. So it was really difficult because Etsy, I don't feel like Etsy, you know, it's not made for that. It's not made for that kind of like huge inventory like situation. And I do know some people do have to stay on there. And so like, I respect it. Like, you know, it took me a while. I don't like to change my stuff and I had to change it so much. But you know, Etsy kept jacking up the fees on people. So I'm just like, we got to get out of here. So we got on Shopify and that made the drops a lot more easy for me to process and what have you. But yeah, 2020 to 2021, it was just like, I never expected that in my whole life. And we had to keep moving.
It was basically a hockey stick.
Yes, it was wild. It was, you have to move. Like, I was like, oh my God, we need like 3 molds of this. We used to just have 1. We need, you know, we ended up getting like gallons of some pigments, which if people don't know, you can buy gallons of pigments from Smooth On. So if you didn't know, I didn't know until I had to do it.
Oh my God.
You know, yeah, whole gallon. I have a whole gallon of a lot of pigments.
Wow. Okay.
And I, you know, refill them with, you know, our ways that we like refill the small jars for the shop. But yeah, so it was just wild. And we just had to keep making, like, I used to do photos in the same room. Like it would just be like, okay, today there's going to be no live casting, not live casting, never live casting, but like when I say live, I mean chemicals, mica, like mold release. None of that stuff's going to be in the air on this day. Like, so that would be like a photo or a bagging day.
Oh, okay.
Like, okay, we got to shut the room down because we can't have that stuff, you know, we got all these wash things. So we have to, you know, and it was just, I don't know about y'all. Maybe some people out there are like a lot more tidy than me, but sometimes do you ever just feel like you have to move something to like use something? It just felt like that was the entirety That was
Yeah.
the entirety.
Yeah.
That was the entirety of the time. Yeah, it was like move something to move something. So we just had to keep doing it and doing it and doing it.
Yeah, I know for us, it was kind of amazing the way that it just kind of snowballed for those 2 years. Now, this year has been different. I think
It has.
the economy has changed, and people aren't feeling quite as confident, and so they're being a little bit more judicious with their spending.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely noticed that as well. I actually feel almost kind of bad for people who got started in 2020 because I feel like they kind of got a raw deal. Well, with, I'm sure they also had to go because it was just like it felt like nobody could keep anything in stock. Like I would go to my friend's shops, and that was the first year that I started shopping drops and kind of like freaking out. Like I was right there with everybody else, like, I need that thing. I'm gonna be there at 4:59. But I also wanted to experience that because I was like, I need to experience what my customers are experiencing, and which is why we started the pre-shop, because Shopify doesn't allow you to do. It doesn't allow you. I have not figured out a way to do cart holds on Shopify. I don't know if that exists. If it does, somebody hit me up. I've tried an app. It failed spectacularly. But yeah, that's why we started doing the pre-shop, because I was like, you know what? This feels bad. Like, it feels bad, man, to have people having to experience that kind of anxiety over like a thing. And it's like, what else do people have right now? Like, give them their joy. So I wanted to do the pre-shop, just to give people time, like, hey, you can look at the things, you can take your time, you can, maybe you look at the pre-shop and you're like, there's nothing here for me this week, so you don't have to sit there. You're not like locked in.
And they're not burning up, server time. That's not the right
exactly
way of putting it. But your server can only handle so much, and if there's somebody who's not going to end up buying something, then they find that in the pre-shop. They're off doing what they want to do, and then the server is a lot more active for the folks who are buying.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we really enjoyed that. Yeah, so but this year has been a lot different. Like I said, I kind of struggled with like finding my voice on social media, if you will. And then at one point I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to be who I am for the most part. And so I've always been very open on my social media about like, hey, we're not, we're really busy this week. Or, hey, I took on a little too much, and so things are going to be a little weird. But yeah, at the beginning of this year, I kind of at the end of December, really, December 2021, I felt the burnout hard. Hard. I was like, I got to the point where like I could not even. It's funny. I think one of the last drops of 2021 we did were Dancing Lights, which is our light up toys. Which like I was so excited. We've been working on that for years, like trying to figure out like how is it going to work, and he finally figured out the tech, and we were so excited. But it was like I should have been really excited for that. I should have been like, yeah, Dancing Lights, woohoo. But I felt so burned out, like I just couldn't enjoy anything. And so I took some time off at the beginning of this year, and little did I know it was like the worst possible time to kind of do that. Because this year has been so odd. I think it's been, it's absolutely a mixture of, the economy and people feeling a little bit like less confident in trying to, like, I know for me personally, in my personal life, and even in my business life, I'm being like a lot more conservative, trying to, because economists or like money people will tell you like, you want to start saving your money now before the shit really hits the fan. And also like I lived through the 2008 recession, so I remember like, you remember that, you're like, oh gosh, I had to count change out of my floor to buy gas and stuff. But yeah, so it's gotten strange this year, and we're in this sort of like incubator space, like as indie dildo makers. And it's a great space. Like I said before, like you have all the customers with they have their own institutional knowledge. Like, you'll learn a lot. You'll be able to have this whole base of people who will, like, you know, be your champions and really be excited for your stuff. But, you know, I think that, you know, a lot of people, I think, can tend to start to like catering to that. And that can be kind of hard to, because you do, you know, as like a business person, not as the artist necessarily, but as the business person, I do feel like, you know, eventually you may need to like shift out of that incubator into, you know, something else, like diversify. You know, some people like to maybe want to move into wholesale, and like at the, you know, at the prices and the production schedule that I have right now, like I could never move into wholesale because it's just not, like, the points aren't there.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it can be hard. You want to move out of there eventually so you can, you know, make space for the next cool thing, because someone saying camera has lost its mind.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Whose camera?
I don't know. I've been watching you, and yours has been fine, so maybe they're talking about mine.
Overlay. I actually did get a message from a friend that said the brightness went up super up.
Huh. I'm not sure.
Oh.
Well.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this year has been really interesting. It's funny. I spent the last 2 days working on something, and it was actually for the maker community. And I was on one of the maker discords, and I shared my thoughts out there, and we very quickly came to the conclusion that actually this wasn't going to work, and so ended up having to throw away 2 days worth of work. But you know, that community has been super awesome, and you know, this was something that I was trying to give back to the community, to the maker community, and just can't do it. So I've taken this year to kind of refocus a little bit on the things that I've enjoyed and the things that I want to do. So it's kind of nice having that freedom to be able to, okay, things are slowing down. We've got more time. What would I want to do? And
I agree.
Yeah. I've got a new website that I'm working on. I'm not quite ready to do a full public announcement, but if you follow my Twitter, you've figured out what it is. So,
I'm sorry. I'm laughing at Linda's comment about her dog. He turned the brightness all the way up on her laptop.
Okay.
Sweet Billy.
Now, you said you did a drop of 200 plus pieces. I know I know a little bit about how much that might have cost. So how do you kind of make that judgment call, and how, you know, I guess it's, how do you decide how much risk you're willing to take?
So that is a thing, and I will say this to like newer shops, or even, you know, maybe middle schooler shops, if you will. I don't want to say middle schooler, sounds diminutive, but you know, you're not new, but you're not an old hat, you know.
Right.
I'd say it to shops. You know, it's difficult because I'm gonna tell, I hate to say it, but it's like, gone are the days where you can just put out any old thing and someone's gonna buy it. Those days are gone. We've been seeing it, you know. And it's not to say that I would put out any old thing and someone would buy it. But, you know, a couple of years ago, I put out this like weird color. It was called like Barbie Cuties. It was ridiculous. It was a total accident. I thought but that's the funny thing, because it's like, you don't know. A bunch of people like really loved it. I even got asked another time, like, are you ever going to bring back Barbie Cuties? And I'm like, heck no, I don't. That was a mistake. Like, that was an accident. So it's kind of hard to say, like, it's a really hard thing. You just really gotta put your finger on the pulse of your customer base, but you also don't necessarily want to, you don't want to necessarily chase trends either, because you can, you know, you can get in that hamster wheel of like trying to recreate things that you see, And that can be born of like curiosity, which is like, I get it. I'm curious too. Like I see stuff all the time where I'm like, how the hell did you do that? Like I gotta try it. But I also, the trend chasing, it's like I said earlier, you're in the incubator space with, our specific customer base, and people start kind of like catering to them, and then you kind of like pigeonhole yourself, and it's like, how are you going to get out of there? It's like I said, it's a hamster wheel, and it can be like stressful, and it doesn't give you those feelings that I think everybody and anybody wants who's doing anything, which is like, feeling really competent and relevant and like autonomous, and that you've learned something. And like, I think you said yesterday in our tech check, it's like you have to fail, like I learn a lot more. I learn every time I fail. Like I just made some stuff not last week, it was a couple weeks ago. I've been trying to unlock fades because I'll tell you, even at 5 years, like I'm not good. Like I'm not great at fades. I think I'm not. I've had different people tell me like, no, that looks great. But like I do. But I made some, like I tried something and I was like, that was ridiculous. Like that does not look good. That was a mistake. That was a fail. So yeah, be careful. If you're gonna experiment smaller. Don't do a whole production run of something, because silicone is expensive. It's gotten more expensive this year, and Lord knows it may get more expensive. So find your
Tibbs.
Keep playing
Tibbs
around.
in the chat had a comment. These days, you have to keep one-upping yourself to stay relevant. It feels it's a tougher market now. Yeah, you get into that hamster wheel, that rat
Exactly.
race. You're chasing your tail. And 2 years ago it was Moz. Everybody had to have a Moz.
Oh, but the slaver is like so iconic.
Yeah.
Shout out to the Wicked Hunt. Nailed it. I don't even have one. Like I still want one. I don't even have one. It's so cool. I've seen it now. I've finally seen it.
MFA Design said PleasureForge is another of the shops that inspired us to get started.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Not me, not us. I'm just a word.
Who? Me? Yeah.
Who, me? No, that's very genuine though. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm just like I like to joke. I tell people all the time, I'm like, we're just two kobolds in a trench coat.
Yeah, the imposter syndrome is real.
Yeah. Trends. Oh, I like that. They're talking about trends. That's cool. Yeah. I agree with George. Is that George? That's George chatting.
Probably. Well, it's not me. So yeah, it's got to be George.
Okay. Yeah. I do agree. Trends are super cool, and I understand like the desire to do that. Like because our greatest I don't know, like we run our businesses run on social capital. Like social capital is so very important to our businesses. And the trends, it's great because you want people like when people post my stuff, if they tag me and stuff, if they post my stuff, if they're talking about my stuff, I get so excited every time. Doesn't matter. I've seen like even on my like worst day where I'm like, I don't Twitter today, like Lord knows what's going on Twitter today,
Yeah.
But if I open my Twitter and someone's tagged me in something, I'm like, oh, that's so cool, like someone liked my stuff. And so I understand wanting, because there is that, there's the community of people who like they have these things that they like, and this week it'll be this thing, or this week it'll be that thing, and like I get that because it's new stuff and they see new stuff, they want new stuff. But yeah, it's difficult, the trends. I want to see something new. Like I want to, and I know that's hard because I've been in that position myself. Like I've been, you stare at you'll have your empty pigmentless cups of silicone sitting on the table before you being like, what the hell am I going to make today that's going to keep up with like sandworms and cow prints and hand paints and 67 color splits and like Lord knows, like is it gonna do my laundry for me? Because like people, and it's amazing, like people are doing some amazing stuff with this medium, because this medium's insane. Like,
yeah, it's
you don't know
incredibly
what
flexible.
it's flexible, and it's also a pain in the ass sometimes. It's like you know, you think like, and I'm sure some other makers can attest to this, like all other makers can attest to this, I'm sure. It's like, you know, today I would try to make something and I would try to make it again tomorrow and it would be different. It's just like, I try really, you know, you try really hard for consistency, but like it's never guaranteed. Yeah. Like maybe the moon is full tonight and
So I'm going to read off a few things from the chat and let me get through them and then we'll come back. Venus Ultra Wormhole said, I'll have to say that I definitely owe PleasureForge the jumpstart for model making. Tibbs said, PleasureForge was my first ever indie toy. You all are iconic. Linda from PPS said, the coolest 2 kobolds in a trench coat, and PleasureForge was her first indie toy as well.
Guys.
And
sorry, people. Not crying on stream.
DM said, I think PleasureForge was my first toy as well. Yeah, you've got fans. And they love you. So, you know, kudos. Take that. You know, run with it. Feel it.
I will. That's I'm so bad at like receiving compliments. My therapist says you need to get better at receiving compliments. So, no, but really, that makes me yeah, that I'm bereft.
Tibbs also had another comment. Your pre-shop for me actually was a huge mental health boost during the pandemic when I couldn't go anywhere, and it was like going to an art gallery every week.
Oh my gosh. Well, I appreciate that so much. And I love people, like, you know, we started doing the pre-shop and then we saw like lots of other people starting to do the pre-shop, and I think it's it's kind of a fun thing. It's almost like a dildo watch party. You know, it's like, I love to see people, you know, getting that chance to like, you know, have that community time of being like, hey, did you see this? What do you guys think about this? And like, I think it was actually some of our friends in the community, they actually did some like YouTube live streams of our pre-shops. I think they got like by YouTube, but, I thought that was really fun, and that, you know, that's something I'd like to do. Like, you asked me a question earlier before off stream, but I forgot to say, yeah, that's something I'd like to do. I'd like to like sit on one of my pre-shops and do like a stream with people and be like, hey, what do you think? Like, what do you think about this?
Oh, that'd be an awesome thing to do.
Yeah, I think that would be fun, like a pre-shop watch party.
Yeah, I mean, you could do a stream on YouTube and, you know, hang out with folks, and if they've got questions, you could answer them. You know, and sometimes people, if it's their first shop or if it's one of their first toys, they may have questions about, you know, firmness or what have you. I think that's an awesome idea. I'd love to see that. Yeah,
I would love to start doing that.
Frost had a question. I think this one came from Twitter a couple days ago. Your pours with translucency, like the Winter Dream Cake, are spectacular, and I'd love to hear something about that.
Okay.
And how do you do it might be a trade secret, of course, but how/why you got to doing it as well.
Okay, so let's see. How is a wee bit of a trade secret? I think I know what they're referring to. A few years ago, I wanted to do, like, I was trying to unlock something, and I was like, we need more cups of clear. Star, make more cups of clear. Like, I just kept saying, like, clear, clear, clear. And really playing with ratios. I love playing with ratios. And I don't often, but I will toot my own horn in saying that I feel like I have an extremely good handle now on, like, ratios of what something will, like, come out as in the end. You know, it's like,
when you say ratios, are you talking about colors?
Yes, colors to translucence. Yeah, so it's all about your ratios, and I'd love to say to new shops, new silicone little sweet babies, like, please, if you think you have enough pigment in your silicone, do more. Like, put more in. Put more in. Star's been working for me since February 2020, and she's still, I'll say, Star, that black is not black enough. And she'll still be like, no, I think it's too much. I think it's too much. I'm like, no, Star, put a little bit more in. I find that, you know, people, I've been asked it before, you know, in DMs or something, like, how do you make your colors like that? And it's like, you got to use more pigment. Please use more pigment. And so, yeah, to get back to the question, it's ratios. I have a bunch of goofy visual aid cups here that I brought just in case, but I'd love to share one cup if that's okay.
Sure.
It's okay, and this is like a twofold thing. So this is just your plain old, like, you know, handled plastic
kitchen measuring cup. Yeah. Kitchen
measuring cup. But the great thing about the kitchen measuring cup is that it has all your, like, tick, 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 tick on it, you know, with your measurements. And as well, it has a handle. Yeah. And you will find over time, my sweet little silicone babies, that crab grabbing these full cups is going to mess your hands and wrists up.
Yeah.
It's going to mess your hands and wrists up.
Yeah.
So, like, you can do it, but it's, you know, it's not ergonomically probably the best idea. So, yeah, the cup, the measuring cup with the handle. Can I say where I got these?
Yeah.
Okay. These, I don't know if they're still $1, but you can get them for $1 at the Dollar Tree. $1. Yeah. They have the nice rounded edge, so you can, like, scrape.
Yeah.
And then the thing about it is that if you can start to get a good handle for, you know, how much silicone goes into your models, into your molds. And you can start playing with ratios with the little numbers on the cups. So that's my tech trick for you.
There was a follow-up question, and I'm going to fold it into a question I had for you, because I wanted to talk about your quarterly release schedule. But Frost had a follow-up question. Thoughts on expanding let me rephrase. Thoughts on expanding the shop or not, like more toys at once, wholesale, etc. Just curious to know about any thoughts there, or if it's even something you would want. So you have this quarterly release schedule, but how do you see that working out for you? And is that something that you want to grow and expand? Wholesale? Is that so many things?
Okay, so yeah, it's okay. We'll get to it. So the quarterly release schedule was born of a space problem. We have, well, number one, we can't stop buying models from Venus because they just keep putting out like amazing things. It's not just Venus, like Scion. We haven't gotten anything from Frost yet. We really need to, but it's like, and I keep seeing Frost put out these really cool things where I'm like, and I tell Shop Dad, I'm like, Shop Dad, I want that. And he's like, no, you can't have it because we don't, like, then it won't come out until like 2024. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. So, because, you know, we can only hold so many molds in the shop. And we have probably, I guess, like 43 different models now. And if you think about that, you know, we have at least 3 to 5 sizes of each.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of things we have 2 molds for, because we were working, you know, last year we were working through that like entire like catalog of molds. Things were like falling off the shelf. We would have to clean them. It was getting ridiculous. So, this year I was like, we need to do like a quarterly thing. And it's not like, I saw someone once say that they think it's to implement some sort of false scarcity. And I'm like, I would never. I just don't have the space. Like, please, you know, I need more space. So yeah, we have more models than we have the space for, which, you know, brings me to the next thing. Like, do we want to grow? In this current iteration, like, there's nowhere for us to grow to. I'm not sure. Like, one of my favorite things about this business is scaling complex things, because I'm sure you have to do that all the time. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
We were making, 6 pours at a time. Now we're making 22. So like, how do we make 22 really cool pours at the same time? Things like that. But like, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a people manager. Shop Dad is an excellent people manager. And so that's part of it, like you have to, if you want to grow, maybe you need to add some more people, because there's only so much that, Star and I can do in our day, so that we don't, because this year has been all about like trying to like scale it to a reasonable level that allows us time for our other interests in life, because it's like I would caution, I know when you're in your first year and you're really excited and you're like, I'm gonna work 12 hours a day, but like, just be careful, because it can, you don't have anybody behind you telling you like, hey, don't do that, like, hey, we're not doing that. It's just you. And that's great. It's great to have the freedom to do what you want, but it's also terrible to have the freedom to do what you want, because, especially when you're gaining that popularity, it can be kind of like an addiction where you're like, I gotta make something cool and show it to people. And it can quickly spiral out of control. It can be bad on your mental health, on your body, like on everything. So I actually read a book, and I would definitely suggest it to anybody who's self-employed or has their own business. And it's called A Company of One, and it's talking about how you don't have to necessarily subscribe to the like infinite growth mindset of like capitalist America. Well, I'm speaking from American thought, but
Right.
Everything's like, oh, you gotta, like, your success is measured by like your scale, and it's like, no,
Yeah.
I don't believe that. I think your success is measured by yourself. And do you feel good when you wake up in the morning? Like, do you feel excited? Do you have a community? Do you enjoy what you do? I think that's success.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that.
I'm really bad at answering these questions.
No,
I'm like going off on a tangent.
Well, what's interesting is that you almost answered my follow-up question, which is, do you think that wholesale or other growth is right for all makers?
I don't. I don't. I think some people, it's gonna work. It's just gonna work just fine, like for them doing what they do, like how they're doing it. You don't need to necessarily grow. Like if you can find your niche and stick in that niche, you may have some trouble keeping up with the new kid on the block, because you never know. But like, I don't think growth is right for everybody. I don't even know if it's right for me. I don't even know if it's right for me. A lot of us were forced to grow in those past few years. Like, we didn't, I don't want to say forced, because you always have a choice. I could have been like, oh, we're not growing. But it was hard not to. It's like, people
How do
are
you
excited.
say no to that community that's
How
built
do
you up
you?
so much so far?
Yeah, and they're excited. They're like clamoring for your stuff, and you're just like, wow, this is so cool. Unbelievable. And the things that you're able to do, we talk a lot about, I have a lot of like social causes that are near and dear to my heart. And sometimes on days where like I struggle with my mental health, and I'm like, I don't want to get out there and do that today.
Yeah.
I think about I just recently got a letter in the mail. I'm not going to cry about it. It was like a nice little card, and it was from one of the charities that we give to every year. And in Florida especially, it's rough on it's LGBTQ youth. And I got a letter from them about like, thank you so much for your donation. Like, you have no idea how much it means to us. Like, we really needed it this year. And it was just like, that just like really got me. I was like, oh, okay, this is why like I'm getting up today and I'm gonna make some stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, you change. not to get off into that path, but social change is incremental, and like you just gotta keep grinding. Like you just gotta keep grinding.
Yeah. I'm going to remind everybody, I'm going to do last call for questions. If you've got anything, drop them in the chat. George will get them to me because I can't keep up with the chat. We've got so much going on over there that it's just kind of like scrolling by for me, and I'm let's see, another question came up. You said you work out of your house. How does it affect you having a workspace at home?
Oh my gosh.
How hard is it for you to walk away from work?
Hard. Really hard. Yeah, it's really hard. So like pre-pandemic, I found myself leaving my house a lot to go. I have, like a lot of people that I really enjoy hanging out with all over. We have some friends in New Orleans that we love to go visit. We have some friends in Atlanta that we love to visit. Just friends all over. And so I would find myself being like, okay, I'm gonna take like 5 days off or something, and I'm just gonna go somewhere not my house, because that's the only way that I'll be able to actually walk away from this. Because it's so easy. You could be like, well, like I'm just sitting on the couch, like I could go and check those casts, like I could, and then you find yourself like you just pulled an entire run of like stuff, and it's or
some dong inspiration comes through and you're like, I've got to go pour that. Well, it's just right in the garage. I can go do that right now.
Yeah. And like, when you're trying to keep up with the insane demand, like when we were, it's like you said, it's slowed down a lot this year. It's given us a lot more time to like regroup and think and like, just do some stuff for us to like be able to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's it can be wild. You're just like, wow, I got to make something cool to show them, because I got it in my head and like I got to see how it's going to come out. So.
Yeah, I've never had my business in my house. Well, don't really have room for it. Me and 2 cats and George. It's about all we've got room for around here. So I've always had a separate space for my studio. And, I think my first space was like, my first space was a room in another shop. And basically I sublet a room, just a single room. And it was like, it wasn't even that big. It was like 8 by 15, 8 by 16, something like that.
Could get a storage unit for bigger than that.
Right. And then we bumped up to about 400 square feet. And then that grew up to 600, 800. Now we're up to 1,200 square feet. And, like I said, it's never been in my house. So it's very easy for me to go, okay, I'm not going to work today.
Now.
Or, yeah. Well, I say that.
I know.
There's so much you can do from your computer at home.
There is. There's we're the types. I mean, I think anybody who opens your own business, like you're the type, like the type, like you can't. And it gets hard. It gets hard to like walk away, because you're like, well, I could just like, I could do like one more little photo, like I could do one more little post. Oh, well, I could just like, hop on and do this. It's like whatever. But it does, like, you have to be really strict with yourself. You have to be so strict with yourself and be like, no, we are not working right now.
Yeah, I have rules for myself that if I'm with somebody, I'm with that person at that moment. And now that doesn't mean that, George and I, we can be in the same space and I can be doing my thing, she's doing her thing. But if we are together and we're doing something, I'm present. And so, that's a boundary I've set for myself.
I'm just going to push this question that I just saw go by from Linda. It says, as long as, she said not a question, but it's definitely a question. It says, as long as Shopify and Twitter are on your phone, are you really ever off work? And that's funny because I have a folder on my phone that says work. And inside of it, Shopify and Twitter. Because I'm like, okay, it's because you have to go through the layers. So,
Right.
you know,
It
but
becomes a conscious choice.
yeah.
Venus asked, were most of the Pleasure Forge models made by you or Shop Dad?
Those were made by Shop Dad.
Okay.
I definitely had some input. Like, I'll have input, you know, like I think I asked him, I do believe I asked him to make some of our humanoids because I wanted to have, you know, just like some accessible things for people who maybe don't want like monster doll, you know. And also it was kind of like a forward thinking into possible wholesale at some point. It was like, well, you know, if we have some humanoids, maybe we can, you know, fill some kind of slot there. If they don't want our monsters, maybe they'll want our humanoids, which, you know, and like he always says, he's like, I have trouble designing those because it's like, how many, you know, human things can you make? And it's just like, no, I feel that. But
Yeah.
So we have a little variety there, but yeah, I've had some like style or function, maybe like input on some of them. You know, sometimes he's been working on stuff and I'll be like, hey, what if you do it like this or that? But like, I don't like to learn softwares very much.
Yeah.
I've drawn a couple of like, you know, 2D ideas and like, what do you think about this? But yeah, mostly that's Shop Dad.
But you've also worked with designers, haven't you?
I mean, we purchased designs.
Right.
We
That's what I
never
meant.
like, yeah, we haven't done like a commission, like a full commission
Okay.
style.
Gotcha.
But we'd love to.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have designs from NYX, which I love. I just love everybody's designs. We have design from NYX, Venus, and we have a design that's about to be coming out from Scion, which we're really excited about.
Nyara asks, what's your favorite model to pour? And what's your favorite model overall?
Well, I'm going to tell you that I can't choose a favorite. I can't choose a favorite model because that would be like choosing a favorite cat, and I love all my cats.
Yeah.
I do, but my favorite models to pour, I don't know. It just depends. It depends on on what I'm pouring in it. I've been loving pouring into the lava method, which is NYX's design. I just love doing it. It's so fun. It's just a really interesting shape, and it's like, it looks great with a highlight. It looks great with drips. It looks great with fades. It just looks really great. So, I've also enjoyed, I don't know, it depends on the day or the week.
Yeah.
I'll have like a week where I'm like, ooh, I really, I think, yeah, we have the Polypon coming up from Venus, and when he first gave us those molds, I swear he was about to tell us, like, you gotta stop pouring into those because you're just gonna wreck them. Like, because we just kept making them and we're like, this is so fun to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've found that it's less about the model that I'm pouring. It's the pigment. It's the color combinations. It's that kind of stuff that I enjoy. To me, it's...
Oh, she's right. Look at her. She's like, I can't believe you left the troll out. She's right. I do love the troll. I do love the troll. Troll is my bud. I like
That's Star. That's your
Yeah.
Goblin. All
Yep.
right. Yay. Linda.
her favorite is the Murloc. She will
Oh.
because we both have our own side of the table that we
Okay.
pour into, and she's got to have all the Murlocs on her side. She loves the Murlocs. So if you have a Murloc, it's 99% starported.
Gotcha. Linda asking with an actual question this time.
Okay.
What are your favorite activities to recharge?
So I do a lot of reading. I love to read. A lot of reading. Yeah, lots of reading. And I'm sure someone would be like, well, what do you read? But I read all kinds of stuff. I read everything. Except, I'm not going to lie. I've tried so hard because Shop Dad is a huge sci-fi nerd. Like, he loves his sci-fi. And I've tried and tried and tried, but like, for some reason I can't suspend all of my questions. I'll be like, they didn't explain that. Like, I don't I'm like, that wasn't explained. I'm just expected to know the rules of this world. I don't. So yeah, so reading a lot.
Okay. Are you a fan of the Kindle or physical books?
Both.
Okay.
Do both.
I've fallen in love with my Kindle.
Yeah, I like to read my Kindle in bed.
Mm-hmm.
That's my bed read. Especially like because he goes to sleep. I don't know. I feel like maybe 5 times I can count where like I've gone to sleep before him. He always goes to sleep before me, but he also has, he has to get up and do his like other job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'll read with my little low light Kindle.
Raleigh
but I also like to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Raleigh says.
Audiobooks too.
Audiobooks. Yeah, George is an audiobook person as well. So.
I do the same. I mean, I like sometimes if I'm reading something that is like maybe, I don't want to say difficult, but it's like not, like real classic literature. Last year, Star and I went on this whole tear where we were reading just all kinds of Victorian or Regency era like novels, and sometimes we would be reading it and listening to it just so we could get as much out of it as we could, because it's not written in language that's used now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just to give everybody a heads up, I'm going to cut off questions at this point because I've got a few more to get through, and I want to try to stay fairly close to on time. If we go over, it's okay, but I want to stay fairly close. Rhaegar, Tibbs from Fantasy Grove, which Fantasy Grove has been on before. Wonderful folks. Definitely go back and check out that conversation. I had so much fun with them. If you could change one thing about the maker side of the toy community, what would you change? And if you could change one thing about the customer side, what would you change?
Ooh, spicy Tibbs. With the spice. Hold on. I gotta like adjust myself for that question. I think my answer would be for the maker side. One thing I could change. I think people will learn rather quickly that it's very important to be collaborative here. Sometimes you can do without it, but it's very important to be collaborative.
This community is not like a lot of them. You've got to be. It's not. You've got to become. Oh, geez, I don't want to say you've got to become part of it, but
no,
you can't
because
come into it thinking it's like a lot of the other business communities you might be a part of.
Exactly, because it's not. And I do understand, we're all individuals, and so, some people might be like, well, I can't devote that much time to like chatting online and stuff like that. But it's yeah. So I'd like to see. Times are getting lean, so it's more important now than ever, I think, than to be collaborative and to just make sure that you're not resorting to kind of nebulous things, undercutting your fellow dongsmith, if you will, because a lot of people will have your back, like if you want. So that's for the maker side. For the customer side, guys, just don't assume. I'm sorry, I keep saying guys. I'm a millennial. I'm trying to phase it out. I know it's not inclusive, but it's a colloquialism, and I'm doing my best. So please just email people. Just email people. Email people, and don't assume that we woke up today and decided to ruin your day by, forgetting to tell you that there was a piece of lint in the bag. It happens. Please just give us a break, give us a break. If you I'm sure everybody's grandma's told them you get more flies with honey or something. I don't know how that goes.
Right.
But just try to be kind. I understand how upsetting it is when you expected something and that's not what you got. But just know that that's not something anybody's out here doing on purpose. It's not because it's not intentional whatsoever. So
Yeah. I think I can't tell if this is, I'm going to say it, anal corn. Ha. Thanks, by the way. I've had great results from blending silicones. Finally, I'm able to watch one of these streams. I think they might be talking about something. I blend my silicones. I use
you make your own custom firmnesses.
Yeah. So that's kind of how I've been doing it. But they may also be talking about, as you're talking about your ratios in your blending of different colors. So
possible. I mean, that's one of the most fun parts, you know. I'm sure some people were around for the, ignite to electric switch. I don't know if you ever experienced that. Like before, you know, if you wanted UV pigments, you got ignite, which was a brick. You got a brick, and you had to mix it yourself. And it killed many a beautiful dildo with pigment pockets that just, turned into a turbo flop that's unsellable. But now we have electric, which is its own thing, and it's fun though. It's fun to you have to do a little more with electric.
Warm Inside says, do you find it emotionally draining to do the socials?
Oh my gosh, yes. I do. I'm a very sensitive person. I truly am. I'm an artist. I'm a creative. You know, my life's work has been creative work. So that can be really hard. I would suggest to anybody who has the resources that, let someone else, you can give that control up. I was really scared. But last year I had to ask ShopDad to start doing my customer service emails because, this looks so wise.
Oh,
looks so,
she's a little.
Oh, she does. She said, she had to make an appearance. So if you have someone else, who's not doing every job, because this stuff's going from your brain to someone's, mailbox into their hands, and I'm a really sensitive person, and so it is draining at time to run the socials because it's I have to be creative in all these other aspects, and now that comes into the content creation piece. It's what are people going to respond to on the internet? What can I post? And some days I wake up and I'll just stare at my phone I don't know. I follow this hilarious page on Instagram, which I want other people to follow if they're a small business, because it's just so validating, and it's called Small Biz Memes. And I think there was a TikTok where this girl was me trying to make a post, and she was just and I was no, I get that so much. It's I don't even know what to make sometimes. Sometimes you're really just getting unfiltered, my brain unfiltered.
Yeah. Death Moon has 2 questions. Is there a time frame for your new models to come out? I'm really excited for your ovipositor and mimic.
So the interesting thing about these really cool, I don't want to say they're new technologies for us, right? Because they're things that we have never done, have never made. So the ovipositor has been in the works for over 2 years. It's had many iterations. Sometimes things will get caught in the pipeline because we find that, ShopDad has finally figured out how he wants to mold it, and now we have to start using it every day. And so we have to, decide whether or not that makes sense in production. Sometimes it doesn't, so we'll have to give it back to him and say hey, I don't know that we can use this because it's kind of too hard to pull, and because that stuff's really important. You don't want to waste half your day trying to pull a dildo out of a mold. You need to get it pulled and move on. So so the ovipositor, though, it's finally done. It's on its last one. I have one right here. I know he showed it last time, but I have this one, which I was
oh wow.
Yeah. Our favorite thing to do is go
rawr.
But yeah, so sometimes it's funny. Sometimes like things will go, and my brain just wants to be like from farm to table, but I don't know. From the idea farm to the casting table. How about that?
Okay.
Sometimes it'll happen really fast, but sometimes we'll just find these like little gremlins, or it'll be something that's like outside of our normal way, and it will just kind of get held up because, you know, he might give us the molds like well in advance, and we'll be like, okay, we'll start to make some of those, and then we'll find that it's a little bit like it's a little difficult, so it kind of gets like it's not our first thing to grab, you know. So we kind of got to be like, okay, we got to start making these.
Gotcha.
So, but the ovipositor and the mimics are definitely coming out like next quarter. Like they're coming out next quarter. I can't say exactly when, but they're coming out. They'll be out.
Okay. Yes or no question. Do you recognize your repeat customers?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Do you?
I
That's
do.
interesting.
Yeah,
I
it's
said it was a yes
super
or no
cool.
question, but I'm like, yeah.
No, it is. I absolutely recognize my repeat customers. And I like that's why I'm sitting here talking to you. So like, thank you to them like so much. I love like you know, I have a very special shipping goblin now that helps us out with our shipping, but so I don't get to see the packing sheets as much, but I remember, you know, Star now on shipping day. I think Star had like an order packing slip pen pal, I swear, because the person would always write an order note and Star would always write them a note back, and it was just really cute. So we recognize our repeat customers. We really appreciate you.
Gotcha. Final question, and then we will wrap it up. I want to know what kinds of tunes get played while working in the PleasureForge.
Again, I guess folks will learn about me. Like, I'm just kind of like it depends on the day kind of gal. You know, I go off into like special interest holes. You know, some like 1 week I'll be like, we're listening to all like, you know, jump blues this week, or the next week I'll be like, okay, I'm really on this like Shania Twain kick because I just watched a documentary about her. Or the next week I'll be like, we're listening to like, I don't even know. We got into like a weird synth wave hole, or like it just really depends on our moods. Yeah. Star is really amenable, which much to her credit, I love it. She's like, she's super sweet about it. She's just like, yeah, whatever you want to listen to. We also do listen to books and podcasts, but yeah, when we're doing music, it's like really at like whatever whim. At my whim. I'm like, I don't know. This week we're listening to like Paganini all week.
Right. All right. Well,
oh yeah, NOLA brass bands.
We have hit the end of the list. I have had a blast, and there's so much more that we could go into, and we didn't even like scratch the surface. So I want to have you back on. We'll talk about that at some point. But is there anything that you wanted to say here at the end? Remind everybody about any drops or events or anything that's coming up?
So we ran into some snags with some of our chrysalid molds, but we are going to put some out next week. Very excited. I have one here just to show people. This is a medium. It's in my hand. 20. She's real cute.
Yeah.
And this is designed by Scion, and we're really excited about it. We have some other things. I just have things on the table, but I don't want to take up a bunch of your time, so I'm just like, yeah. And the Myconid, which is that's also coming pretty soon. It will come out before the end of September.
Gotcha. All right. Well, why don't you say goodnight and then hang out for a few minutes, and I'll wrap up and give everybody kind of a preview of what's coming up. So say goodnight.
Okay. Good night.
All right. Kristen, thank you so much. I've had a blast. You and Shop Dad have made this place, this community that we are a part of, so much better for all of us. I have a couple of designers coming up. Next week, we have Bat. And then the following week, we have Venus. So the next 2 weeks are going to be designers, followed up by Monster Fergus. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. So, remind everybody, we do have a Patreon, patreon.com/AmaVD. Feel free to jump on there and support us in any way you like. Or just hang out with us. That's cool too. All right, everybody. We'll do this again next week. Bye.